roles and responsibilities, skills and styles of coaching, self-evaluation, coaching sessions, Clare Siggins. The roles of a coach are they should be an assessor, so he should be constantly assessing the performance of his athletes in training and competition and be able to develop his skills to improve his performance. Should be able to demonstrate the skills that he requires the athlete to perform effectively, and he should be able to have a reasonable amount of knowledge of the sport and in anything that the athlete wants to know. Should be an instructor, so he should be able to communicate effectively with the athlete and tell them what skill they want them to do, and a mentor, so throughout the training session should be responsible for them and be able to monitor their health and safety in the training sessions and to support them if they come to any problems or any injuries. And they should be a role model to the athlete because they usually could be the first contact with them in that sport. So it's probably one of the most important roles of a coach, because he provides the example of how they should behave in the sport and outside. The responsibilities of the coach are health and safety, so he needs to make sure that the athlete is working in a safe environment, using safe equipment. Should be able to technically and tactically improve the athlete, for example in football. Should be able to develop their skills maybe in defence or attack, and pass on their own knowledge of an experience in the sport and help them develop as an athlete. And should give equal opportunities, particularly in team sports, to give everyone a certain chance in a team. And improving the player's performance, for example in cricket, the team may be practicing in the nets and the coach will be able to tell the bowler where to pitch it or the batter how to hit it. And this may come from his own experience or from watching performance, but we'll be able to use the information to improve the players. Skills of a coach, organisation, to have an effective session that progresses well. Should be able to manage the athlete's equipment and the area and group the athletes according to numbers ability and be able to separate them from ability and continually check the plan, continually check that the session is safe. This leads on to safety, so as a coach you should be able to provide a safe environment for the athlete and assess the risks of area equipment and athletes. Again, continually assessing the risk through the session, keeping the athlete set on task and following the correct practices and progressions. Should be able to communicate well with the athlete on a personal level, so knowing their names, making eye contact, coach the athlete rather than the sport, and show interest and respect for the athletes. And instruction and explanation. The coach should be able to instruct and explain the skills that they want the athlete to do, be able to gain athletes' attention, and again the coach should be able to be heard by the athletes, again with communication, being able to hear, and keeping it simple to the point so the athlete doesn't get confused or the coach doesn't overload the athlete with too much information. Skills continued, demonstrations, should be able to demonstrate the skill, whether it's them doing it themselves or someone else demonstrating the skill for them. Observation analysis. The coach should be able to break down the athlete's movement phases of the skill and compare it to the technical model and maybe use appropriate actions to correct particular action phases that may be wrong and be able to correct them. The coach should be able to also give constructive feedback, again to encourage the athlete for self-analysis, progressing them as a learner, and providing specific and simple advice, making sure that the athlete understands and making the whole process a positive experience for the athlete. The styles of coaching, there's autocratic, so there's no intervention from the rest of the group. It's usually used in dangerous situations such as rock climbing and is best used for large groups or athletes at the cognitive stage of learning, so they need to be told what to do. There's democratic, where the coach listens to the voices and people in the team and it's favourable for situations where there is little or no danger. It's best in small groups or with individuals that are at the autonomous stage of learning, so should be able to evaluate their own performance and know what to do to improve. And then there's the laissez-faire or problem-solving style. They're very similar. With the problem-solving style, the coach would give the athletes a particular problem to overcome themselves, and then with the laissez-faire, the coach literally just steps back and lets the athletes come over the problem themselves. The drawbacks with laissez-faire is that it's quite long and it's not very constructive for the athletes. And then there's the task orientated. So this is solely the coach concentrating on the team completing the task, and it concentrates on the completion of the task. And then there's the social or the person orientated style, which is mainly concerned on developing personal relationships with the group. And the guided discovery, which is when the coach allows self-discovery and uses questioning to raise the athlete's awareness and gives the athlete freedom to explore various options. My first session with rounders, some pros where I offered quite good instructive feedback. I gave coaching points and progressed the drills and provided demonstrations. Cons, I could have differentiated within the group. I could have progressed the drills further, and I should have considered the setup of the drills. I was comfortable with giving my session with this group as they were my peers, but I wasn't comfortable as much with the content, because as my first sport is archery, I couldn't really coach it to a large group of people, as it's quite a high-risk sport, and it's best taught one-on-one or in groups no bigger than 3 or 4, where a coach is able to keep a close eye on the individual. Also, the lack of equipment and appropriate facilities and space made me unable to coach it. But I introduced my session well, highlighting the aims and goals of the session and reinforcing them throughout the session. For the warm-up, I did 2 laps of the Astro pitch, and then allowed each individual of the group to demonstrate a stretch to the rest of the group in a circle. This was good as they were teaching each other and learning from each other. However, the stretches were static and wouldn't have maintained the pulse from the run. Next time I would consider doing dynamic stretching instead of static, and maybe even making the whole warm-up sport specific. The main session I set up a square with the post and split the groups evenly. I didn't have enough balls, so I couldn't have done my throwing drills in pairs. But I started with demonstrating the underarm throw, so where the individual would obviously throw the ball to each other and then to the next post and follow their throw. And I did the same setup for the long barrier stop and the overarm throw, both of which I gave demonstrations and coaching points. I constantly made the group aware of the long barrier stop and made sure they were doing it correctly. I progressed the drill well, but I didn't progress the individuals well, so because I didn't differentiate, so the stronger people in the group weren't being challenged as much as they should have. I found it hard to split the group into ability. In the demonstrations, I would have found it better to use stronger individuals in the group. I think I positioned myself well. I gave overall and individual feedback, again with lots of encouragement. I organised the group well, so it aided the transition between activities easily, but I think I could have moved around the group a bit more to observe and view the technique from different angles. Again, lots of demonstrations, and both to the whole group and individuals to highlight correct technique. However, I was quiet throughout the whole session due to the fact that I'm naturally a quiet person, so I could have been hard to hear at some points in explanations, but I know I shouldn't be afraid to shout to gain the group's attention. I also should consider the setup of the drills a bit more carefully, as it wasn't the best setup for a throwing drill in a square, as there was a danger that a member could have been hit with a ball. So I had to change the setup of the drills and changed it into a competition between 2 groups, and to see which group could do the most catches between each other without moving away from the posts. My second session was hockey. Some pros, I engaged well with the group, I gave coaching points, I provided demonstrations with all key coaching points, and gave brief and clear aims of the session. Cons, I kept the drills static, there was limited differentiation, and I spent too much time on some of the drills. was a bit apprehensive of this session because I didn't know the group very well. But after I spoke to them before, I found out that I wasn't as nervous. They weren't a bad lot. The warm-up again, I did 2 laps of the Astro and the group demonstrated a stretch. This was good as they were teaching each other again and learning from each other, and I was getting them to think about what stretches would be relevant with hockey. However, again, the stretches were static and it wouldn't maintain the pulse. So next time again I would consider dynamic instead of static stretching, and again trying to get the warm-up maybe a bit more sport specific. In the main session I split them into pairs and told them to get a stick and a ball each. However, I should have handed out the hockey balls because as soon as I got them they immediately started playing with them and weren't really listening to me. I set up the drills so it was passing between each other, and again progressed it from the push pass to the slap pass to the sweep and hit, and then the hitting and shooting. It could have been developed into a game situation as they were static, and it could have been used to challenge the stronger individuals of the group. But again, I think I positioned myself well amongst the group, giving overall and individual feedback. I gave a lot of encouragement. One of the group had a wrist splint, and I think I reacted well to the problem and altered the drills so that they would be able to take part. I made good use of the pitch markings on the Astro and organised the group well, again aiding transition between the activities easily. I used questions to get the group to think about the passes, so I used guided discovery style of coaching. However, I think I could have moved around the group a bit more, again to observe and view technique from different angles. One of the group wasn't really taking part and messing around, but I think I engaged them well in the activities and drills by giving them help, encouragement and talking to them and getting them interested in the session. Again, using lots of demonstrations both to the whole group and individuals if they found it hard or difficult. However, again, I was quiet through the whole session, but I had a sore throat, so I probably was quite hard to hear at some points in the explanations. That's it.
Thank you.